Allow me to describe something to you, oh good viewer of my video. It's Nintendo Direct time. The voiceover guy just asked you to please forget that Metroid Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 ever existed, all while completely ignoring the very existence of Pikmin 4, only for us to hear the classic, "We've got one more announcement." Smash time, baby! We open up to a shot of a pair of strange, fiery feet walking through snow when something falls in front of them. The camera pans up a bit to see a strange glowing orb with the symbol of Palutena on it. The person those feet belong to frowns at the sight of it, his red and green eyes clearly illuminated by the orb. Then we cut to some properly defined, familiar faces. Pit, duking it out with Ganondorf in a snowy clearing with the bright moonlight illuminating the field. Pit is pretty beat up at this point, and Ganondorf's getting cockier as a result. Pit recoils after a nasty blow and mentally hears the voice of Viridi scold him for losing the fight. Pit says it would be easier with some help, to which Palutena chimes in with confusion, saying she already sent one of her strongest boons down to help him in the fight, and that it had even been accepted. As Pit questions who received it, Ganondorf gets the jump on. Pit watches in horror as the Gerudo King of Thieves swings his massive blade down towards him, with a fierce "Dodia!" only for the blade to be intercepted. Ganondorf flies back, but ironically, he recovers, now angry at the sudden intruder in his fight. Pit is shocked to see someone come to his aid, and the camera pans up to reveal his savior. We launch into the gameplay trailer, featuring Zagreus' combat in-game, as Palutena and Viridi comment on his abilities and combat prowess, only for Zagreus to talk himself up as well. The trailer returns to CG for the ending, as we see Ganondorf fly off into the distance. Zagreus takes a breath as he recovers from the battle when he notices Pit is running into the Temple of Styx that he had come from, yelling to the Prince of the Underworld that he has to go defeat Hades. Zagreus just chuckles, not knowing of the misunderstanding, before quietly wishing him good luck, as he moves on from the snowy glade to fulfill his quest. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Oh So Generic, and today I will be talking about Hades coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and what that could look like. Hades is already a critically acclaimed game, and after having sunk a fair amount of time into it, I can tell why. The story, music, gameplay, characters, everything about this game is done amazingly, especially for an indie studio, and it completely blows most roguelike games out of the water. And as is the case with any game I play, I was quick to consider what the game's protagonist, Zagreus, would look like in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now before I continue, I do want to issue minor spoiler warnings. If you haven't beaten Hades at least once and care about spoilers, I would turn back a bit. But please do make sure to come back to this video later once you played through, please. With the spoiler warning out of the way, why don't we hop right into how Hades' own Zagreus would work if he was somehow to make it into the game, shall we? Getting right into it, let's talk about his alternate costumes. Zagreus doesn't have any alternate costumes of any sort in Hades, so I resorted to just making some of my own using this render. The first alt of his is based off of his sort of rival slash brother, Thanatos, the chthonic god of death. His second alt is based off of both Achilles and Persephone, who share similar color schemes overall. His third alt is based off of the god of wine, Dionysus. His fourth alt is based off of another of his rivals, the Fury Megara. The fifth alt is based off of his adoptive mother and the chthonic goddess of darkness, Nyx. And then the final two alts are based off of his godly uncles, Poseidon and Zeus. Now with the cosmetics done, let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of Zagreus. Zagreus in Hades has a sizable arsenal of 6 different weapons he can choose from, the Infernal Arms. While his signature weapon is Stygius, the Stygian Blade, and we could just say he's another sword fighter, I'm instead going to go the Pilaf route and give him his different weapons to appear all throughout his moveset. So let's meet Zagreus' Infernal Arms, shall we? Firstly, as I mentioned before, we have Stygius, the Stygian Blade. Secondly, we have Varatha, the Eternal Spear. Third is Aegis, the Shield of Chaos. Fourth is Coronach, the Heartseeker Bow. Fifth are the Twin Fists of Malphon, and last but not least is Exegriff, the Adamant Rail, which is just a gun. Usually I try not to go into too much detail on anything past the special moves of a character, but with Zagreus there's just too much to let go unmentioned. So let's not waste any more time. For Zagreus' up tilt, he wields his spear, swinging the weapon in an upward arc a fair height above his head to catch landing foes, the animation of which is inspired by the dash strike of the spear. For his jab, we have a simple 3-hit combo from his Stygian Blade, first hitting with a horizontal slash followed by a vertical cut, and finished off by a fierce stab with a fair amount of knockback. For his forward tilt, we have something a bit special, a disjoint from his spear, which he actually tosses out in front of him a fair distance. The spear doesn't immediately return to him, instead floating wherever it landed, until he inputs another forward tilt to recall the spear to him. Varatha has a hitbox when returning to him, turning his forward tilt into a bit of a trapping tool. His down tilt is a simple low sweep with his shield, which knocks foes right up into the air. And finally, his dash attack is the sliding stab of his Stygian blade pulled straight from its dash strike. For his up smash, we have Zagreus perform a spin attack with the Eternal Spear, which has an extended hitbox above him from the spinning blade. For his forward smash, Zagreus performs a bull rush with the Shield of Chaos. While charging the smash attack, Zagreus holds the shield in front of him, and any attacks made to his front while in the charging animation are nullified. When the attack is released, Zagreus dashes forward with the shield, ramming it into foes on his way. The distance traveled is directly related to how long it was charged for. For his down smash, we have Nova Smash, where Zagreus leaps forward into the air to stab the Stygian blade into the ground, creating a shockwave to damage foes all around him. For Zagreus' up air, he leans back mid-air and fires the adamant rail upwards, letting off a handful of shots. This move works pretty closely to meet Gunner's up air, locking foes in for a damaging multi-hit. For his neutral air, Zagreus swings the Stygian blade around him, which makes for a faster but less damaging version of Ike's Nair. For his forward air, Zagreus stabs his spear forward. Like Violet's Fair, but the sweet spot is non-existent, making this move more consistent overall. For his back air, Zagreus swings the Stygian blade back behind him like Cloud's back air. And finally, for his down air, Zagreus hugs the Shield of Chaos to him and aims it downwards, before quickly descending for a classic stall and fall down air to let him quickly return to the stage, or the void below the stage if you miss. Just like with his forward smash, attacks made to the face of the shield are nullified, protecting Zagreus as he falls and creating a fairly safe landing option. Zagreus doesn't have a particularly unique grab, as he simply grabs a hold of his foe with the twin fists of Malphon. His pummel is quick and damaging as he repeatedly punches his caught foe with the fist. His up throw has him deliver a rising cutter with the twin fist to send his enemies straight up. His forward throw has him pull out the Shield of Chaos and ram it into his foe in a mini bull rush. His back throw has him toss the enemy back over his shoulder and fire off a few shots of the adamant rail at them, similarly to Fox or Falco's back throws. And finally, his down throw has him keep his opponent down with his foot before firing off the extra bombardment. By far, this move has the strongest KO potential out of his throws, but it is kind of lengthy, so in free-for-all or team-based matches, it won't be super reliable. And now we come to the best part of any moveset, special moves. His up special is a simple yet effective move, the aforementioned Rising Cutter, delivered by his twin fists of Malphon. The Rising Cutter works pretty identically to Ryu and Ken Shoryuken since it's just too fitting. I wish there was something more unique for Zag to have as his up special, but Hades doesn't have a whole lot of verticality to it, making his potential recoveries a bit limited. But hey, Rising Cutter works, so let's move on. For Zagreus' neutral special, we have his Heart-Seeking Bow, Coronoct. Coronoct is another bow-based neutral special, sure, but it is way more unique and versatile of a tool compared to the others. Simply tapping neutral special will have Zagreus fire off a vertical volley of arrows to cover a good amount of space in front and above him, but holding the neutral special will have him begin drawing the bowstring back. Like the Lynx, Zagreus can hold the bow indefinitely once it's fully charged, but it's actually not as optimal for you to hold the attack, as you'd be missing out on the power shot if you do that. Right before the cutoff point for the charging of the move, Zagreus will glow for a split second. If you release the arrow while he's glowing, it will release a much stronger power shot that has good potential to finish off high percent enemies. Zagreus' side special is none other than his dash ability. Dash for Zagreus is fairly similar to the iconic Fox illusion, except it has two dashes you can use back to back for incredible horizontal recovery and even more unpredictable mix-up options. But in its base form, it does no damage and just has you dash past foes. Lastly, for his down special, we have Cast. Zagreus magically projects a small red diamond in front of him, which hits foes for minimal, fixed damage. The cast then remains inside of the foe for some time, making Zagreus unable to use the move until the cast is dislodged. While the cast is stuck in the foe, Zagreus deals extra damage to them. Not a crazy amount of extra damage, but enough to make you want to try and use cast for this effect. After about 10 seconds, the cast will dislodge itself in the foe and hover in place wherever it fell out. It will not return to Zagreus unless he is KO'd, but it will gravitate towards him if he gets close enough. Zagreus' special moves themselves aren't anything crazy, but Zagreus at this point would be a third-party DLC, and the track record on them shows they usually come with some strong jank. So you have to be wondering what Zagreus' jank is, right? Well, as a roguelike game, Hades is full of temporary upgrades that mostly come in the form of godly boons sent by your Olympian relatives to aid you in your quest of freedom. However, as I said, these boons are temporary upgrades, as you lose them when you die in your run, at which point you have to start all over again without them. Let's apply this to Smash, shall we? 15 seconds into the match, a random godly boon will spawn on stage. Zagreus can run up to the boon and interact with it as if he were picking up an item, at which point he will be presented with a menu of different boons to choose from, depending on the god he is receiving the boon from. After the first 15 seconds of the match, boons begin spawning in every 30 seconds. Each god has 6 different boons to bestow upon Zagreus, which are shown to him 3 at a time when he interacts with the god's symbol. When Zagreus selects a boon, he cannot select it a second time if he gets the same god again, and it is simply removed from the pool of boons he can choose from. Overall, there are 8 different gods who can give Zagreus their boons in a match, which are Zeus, Poseidon, Athena, Ares, Artemis, Dionysus, Demeter, and Hermes. You might notice the absence of Aphrodite, which is unfortunately not a mistake. While Aphrodite has some cool boons, she unfortunately runs into the same problem as SNK's Mai, as her design is less than compatible with the family-friendly content of Smash. With 8 gods, each with 6 boons of their own, you have a total of 48 different boons to choose from. However, there is no chance you'll ever be able to get them all in a normal match, since you'd lose all of your boons when you're KO'd, and thus have to start all over again at 0. I didn't think you could make a Smash stock into a roguelike, but here we are. While each god's boons are different from one another, each of them has a general theme. Zeus adds chain lightning and lightning effects that boost your overall damage potential, especially in free-for-alls. Poseidon adds to your overall knockback to create a good get-off-me kit. Athena adds to your general defense. Ares adds to your overall offense and KO power. Dionysus adds lingering poisoning to your attacks that's definitely not alcohol in my Smash Brothers. Demeter adds slowing effects to your moveset, and finally, Hermes speeds you right up. With the weird, kinda complicated part of the moveset out of the way, let's finish it with the most universal thing in Smash Brothers, the Final Smash. Zagreus' Final Smash draws from his Call ability in Hades, which typically is the strongest ability he can get from a god. He directly calls upon the power of the god to do different things. But in Smash, we're just gonna mash all of these gods together into one big Final Smashy bundle for Olympian Call. Once he's collected the power of the Smash Ball, Zagreus unleashes the attack by calling up to Zeus on Olympus above him, who strikes the ground around Zagreus with lightning bolts to bring them into what else but a cutscene Final Smash. Of Zagreus receiving boons from every of his Olympian relatives before delivering a souped up call into the caught foes to send them flying off. But now let's talk about the stage, the Underworld. Hades only has a few different main locales, but it felt wrong choosing one over the others, so here's all of them, brought to you by Hell's resident ferryman, Charon. The battle takes place on Charon's ferry, which acts as the main platform all throughout the stage as Charon paddles along at the back of the ship. In all but one area, the water around Charon's boat acts just like it does on Wind Waker's pirate ship stage, except it doesn't spike you at the front. The stage starts at the House of Hades, right where Zagreus always begins his journey. Charon then sails into Tartarus, where unstable pillars in the background occasionally drop debris down on the boat, burying and damaging fighters hit by it. Soon after, Charon will paddle the boat into the deadly heat of Asphodel, where the water is quickly replaced by lava that damages fighters who are unfortunate enough to touch the surface. Sometimes while going through Asphodel, fireballs will pop out of the river and land on the boat for a small explosion. After Asphodel, Charon sails into Elysium, where the only real hazards are the undead shades of the realm looking to sate their need for endless conflict. The shades throw spears and fire arrows at the boat, hoping to hit the fighters aboard. Second to last, Charon sails into the Temple of Styx near the surface. There are no proper hazards here, although gears of the factory-like temple will act as temporary platforms above the ferry. Finally, Charon paddles up to the surface into Greece. The snowy landscape will give way to Persephone's cottage soon after, allowing the players a brief, peaceful reprieve from the stage's hazards. Charon himself will even take a break and let the boat sit, before beginning the journey back to the Underworld, but in reverse, taking a stop at the House of Hades at the end, just like he did Persephone's cottage. With most of the substantial stuff out of the way, let's finally address the last bit of content to come with Zagreus, the music and spirits. As always, I've made a spirit board here to showcase who will be joining Zagreus as spirits, so feel free to pause the video to properly check this out if you want. And for music, well, look, I sat down to make my usual list of music for these videos where I pick out some of the best and most iconic tracks from the game I'm talking about, and then condense it to like 10 or 12 songs, but the list ended up being 30 songs long, which is exactly how many songs are in Hades. So yeah, just take the full soundtrack, Sakurai, it's just that good. As for his classic route, it'd be cool to have it mirror his travels through the Underworld. Have him start in Luigi's mansion to represent the House of Hades, where he then fights enemies that represent different mooks from Hades in waves. and then finish it off with a snowy fight with Ganondorf, who represents Hades himself. And there you have it, the entirety of Zagreus' inclusion in Smash, excluding niche things like his boxing ring title or the wig that Kirby would wear when copying him. While it's not really likely that Zagreus will end up joining Smash, considering his game's popularity is fairly recent, it's still nice to imagine it anyway. Tell me what you think down in the comments below, and as ever, if you liked the video, make sure to headbutt that like button with your left click, and subscribe for more Smash videos in the future. I'm also Generic, thank you so much for watching, I'll catch you next time.